Good afternoon to our friends and partners who are here with us, joining us in our webinar. It's 1 minute away from 3 o'clock, and you're attending the Entrepreneur and Sales Manager Problem, what to do when you, your organization, or sales team have low or no sales in this pandemic. I know that most of you have already attended any of our previous webinars, and you are now looking at the lineup that we are offering for this week. And again, this is the second session that we are doing this week, two more, and this is really the first of the sales focused series of webinars that we're providing for this week. Our reminders, I know that you've heard me mention this in previous webinars. In case I get disconnected for power interruption or internet connection reasons, I'll try to log back in. In case I'm not able to do that, the LJMB team will reach out to you and we will schedule a possible postponement, and apologies in advance should those things happen. Our webinars in the past 4 weeks have went on smooth sailing, nothing to no distractions or interruptions so far. So I'm crossing my fingers that it will not happen in the next 1.5 hours. This is also There's also been given an extended time for 30 minutes. I might go beyond an hour in sharing with you lots of content for today, but we'll make sure to allot 10, 15, up to 20 minutes of Q&A time. We also have the capacity to hear speakers from our class. So the 22 participants who are joining us today, please be ready to speak and address your classmates in this webinar. Acknowledging the presence of, I mentioned the 22, just checking, correction, only 20 who are with us today. And these are coming from different companies and different industries: Concentrix, Suzuki, Exceltis Philippines, Oasis Grill, Insular Life, Paseo Kitchen, and of course our loyal client, RCBC Bankcard. You're seeing the list of courses for this week. And the focus today, you've seen this poster blasted in social media with a very powerful graphic there. I believe most industries, most companies are affected. What do we now do with low or zero sales in this pandemic? Just in case you have not heard about us, just in case it's the first time that you're attending our webinar, a very quick introduction of who we are. Our company name goes by 4 letters, LJMB, and these are my personal initials. I used this when I named the company Learning Just Made Better, registered in 2005, now a 15-year-old provider of training solutions to different organizations. Louis Banta at your service, and you're seeing my professional numbers that represent my experience and expertise. We are providers of training, not just in the Philippines, but we've also gone around. Here's our global training footprint. Please follow us at LJMB Training in our Facebook page, where you will see the weekly lineup of webinars. It has been our commitment starting April 1, when I first appeared in my first ever webinar, to do this on a weekly basis, offering not just one, not just two, but at least 4 topics every week. And I'll share with you my personal and my business challenges as well in this new business model that we're adapting. It's also a success story that I'd like to share with you, what to do when you have low sales or zero sales in this time of pandemic. I mentioned that for the past 4 weeks, we have ventured into these new offerings. And as early as March 13, we've seen cancellations and postponements of our training events in April and May. A proactive way to adjust is to be able to explore other opportunities. And here we go. I'm on I believe, my 20th webinar class I provided in the past 3 weeks. I just got the word that my audio is not working. Okay. Is my audio working? LJMB team, video working. Just checking. Okay, just checking if video is working. Yes. All right, so everything's working. Let's continue. I know that you're excited to jump to our discussion. Here's a Tagalog version, a Filipino version of our ad. And it's really something that we hear from a lot of salespeople. I'm sure you can relate. Maybe you've heard it from your sales teams. Bagsak ang benta, and everybody's using the same reason or excuse, COVID kasi. Before I continue, just orienting you on how our interaction will go in this afternoon's webinar. You will use the features that you can see on the right side of your screen, and our interaction will be in the way of the chat feature. If you want to ask questions or give suggestions, you may also comment and even challenge what I'm saying here. Please feel free to post messages in the chat room. Okay? Thank you for those who have been responding. Thank you for verifying my audio and video is okay. And some people are making their presence felt. Some are even saying hi to their peers in the room. We may also be presenting something in the offers page, and I will control what we'd like to see here. We'll do it later. But for now, we have the poll feature on the right side, just above offers and just below the chat link. I am now posting the first poll question, and please make your presence felt, make your organization represented. The question here is, do you think that you'll still achieve the 2020 sales target that your organization set back at the start of the year? Once again, the question is, do you think you will still achieve the 2020 target that your organization set back at the start of the year? Just a yes or a no. Please proceed again to the poll question on the right side of your screen. Excited to see your votes. Please let me know. Is it a yes? You're still confident you will achieve your 2020 target? Or would you say no because of what's happening right now? Giving people 30 seconds to lodge their votes. Please respond to the poll question here. I am publishing it. Ready? Go to the poll feature. Waiting for some more to provide answers. The no choice, the no option is currently at 100%. Now I have 6% saying yes. The bars are moving. It's continuously moving. A few more people are lodging their votes. Yes or no? Do you think that you will still achieve the 2020 sales target that your organization set back at the start of the year? And of course, I'm referring to the company, the collective target. But some people will say it doesn't matter whether it's an individual target or a team target, a BU target, or the entire company or enterprise target. Nobody is really exempted given the complication of this crisis. And now the numbers have stopped. 85% said, gave an overwhelming. What's your guess? Is it a yes or no? 85% said, no, we don't think we can still achieve the 2020 sales target. I would also like to acknowledge the 14%. 14%. So what does that translate to? If we have 20 people, your 14% would be 3 people. Yes, I think about 3 people who are saying, yes, we will still achieve the 2020 sales target. So at least we have the pulse of the class. Majority are saying a big no. I believe this is a good representation of what is also happening out there. If we do the same survey to hundreds of sales leaders or entrepreneurs or big bosses in different companies, your numbers, I believe, will mirror what's happening out there. And I'd like to link our poll question here with the photo that you're seeing on my slide. You'll see the LJMB team in one day in February in military attire. Wow, look at that stern look. I'm not smiling there, giving you that close to tiger look, because this team of six facilitated a kick-off for a sales organization in early Feb. We were in Rizal. The theme is military because it's all about winning the war, the highly competitive landscape in their business. I will not mention the name of the company. I'm sure that you had your own version of a kick-off or a sales target launch or a town hall meeting, sometimes combined with a team building or other engagement activities. And a lot of organizations, a lot of leaders were very positive because 2019 was generally a good year for the economy and for the business. For our loyal clients here in the of LJMB who are here with us, just acknowledging our loyal client banker has really impressed a lot of fellow players in the industry and even sister companies within the Yuchenko group because of your performance. And I know of the other companies on my list which are acknowledged as sales powerhouse in their respective industries. And then all of a sudden, when we were just about to get ready to implement and execute the programs, COVID-19 came. No need for an introduction. By now, after 6 weeks of feeling the effects, it has affected the global economy. If you're watching, following CNN or the global news, oil prices in the US just turned negative. And as you can see, I'm highlighting there the 2020 blue line or blue, yes, part of the graph is below $0. What does that mean? That oil producers, to quote what's on the news article here, are even paying buyers to take oil, to receive oil. And that's why some buyers are getting it for free. They're putting it in tankers because the oil producers are feeling that the storage capacity could run out. So they're already giving it away. And here in the Philippines, we're feeling the effects in terms of 30 peso per liter price of gas. But who needs it anyway during this time when we cannot go out in the lockdown? Right? And if oil prices are indicative of economic health, there you go. That's one major concern that is affecting global economies. But not everybody is feeling the crunch. I'd say most, but to cite two companies which might be unintentionally profiting or gaining from this crisis would be Amazon, who is earning an estimated $10,000 every second day and night. With people locked down, especially in the US, you go to Amazon for your supplies, and there's nothing to do at home, and you need something, you open their catalog, you click, and then you have your credit cards, you have your payment capacity. Not everybody is really feeling or seeing the negativity in this COVID crisis. And as I've always emphasized in previous webinars, because we are now into this platform of virtual conferencing and meetings and training, Zoom's founder actually became richer, a lot richer in 2020, coming from just 19 million users at the end of 2019, now to 200 million users. A few gainers, but generally speaking, the rest are really feeling the crunch. So acknowledging the 86% who said, now it's 86% who said, we don't think we'll achieve the 2020 targets, we can now say formally, and this is on a light note, goodbye 2020 targets. because we already lost 1.5 months. Imagine the lockdown started March 15. And I personally, if I am to make a bet, if this lockdown will not be lifted anytime soon, if we look at the number of infections and the death rate, the flattening the curve has not yet been achieved. And the only way by which we can really return to the new normal or to have the lockdown lifted is for the virus and infections to be under control. And that really means achieving the supposed phrase, flattening the curve. So our clients, whether they're individual consumers or customers or their businesses, may still need time to recover, let's say after June or July. So we may not really be seeing the natural return of the demand by Q3. So yes, almost everybody's affected. We mentioned a few companies who are not, may even be gaining from this crisis. But for our organizations, as well as our friends in our respective businesses, the COVID crisis has also swayed the mindsets and actions of our people. First, there's no demand because of the lockdown. Nobody's out. Factories are not operating because nobody's going to the plants, because there are no factories, there's no supply, and nobody's going out, nobody's going to work, there's no demand. Service establishments are closed, and nobody's buying, nobody's spending. That's why there will be a recession in Q2, expected to also last until Q3. You define a recession as having 2 consecutive quarters of low GDP. And essentially, what is GDP? Economics 101 is when the government and private individuals and business organizations are not spending. So it now has shaped the mindset of people. Nobody's buying, so how can I make a sale? It has led us to reactive selling, just waiting for the customer to call or inquire. They will call, people will call if they want to. Why would they bother? And these two mindsets have also affected the actions of our salespeople in the past 6 months. I'm not referring to all, but I spoke to several sales leaders who have also been somehow victimized by these kinds of mindsets. Okay? And the mindsets is affected to doing less calls because you can't go out. You have mentioned mobility as a reason. How can I make my sales calls when I cannot go out? Really, it's time for us to go out of our comfort zones. And remote selling, as I will expand on later, is really the thing, not of the future, but in this current crisis. Also, salespeople in general are now afraid to take more risks and therefore are working on smaller accounts. And so combine that with less calls to smaller accounts, it will really hit us hard. So I can understand and empathize with you, 86% saying we can't hit our sales targets. Is there a right answer to that, Paul? Okay. Let's go to these two ends of a spectrum here. Two types of salespersons or sales leaders or managers. On the right side of the screen, on one extreme, is what's represented in the previous slide. No one is buying. It's COVID's fault. I will not be able to hit my targets for the year. And to a salesperson, that is also a big deal because that means you cannot achieve your target incentives for the year, your variable pay, and if there are incentive trips or awards associated with that. And that may spell the end of the world for the salesperson who's on the extreme right of the screen. On the other hand, on the left side of the screen, in a few organizations that I've also heard, because I spoke to some salespeople, they are saying that their sales leaders seem to be in denial of what's happening right now and are still pushing people to, let me quote, deliver or die, no excuses. And I can understand why perhaps such a message needs to be delivered because you don't want your salespeople defocused. However, given the anxiety and uncertainty of the situation, giving us a lot of mental health concerns affecting our employees, this kind of leadership, this kind of message will just generate a lot of demotivation and demoralization because apparently if you take out one quarter, that already means a lot of catch up to do in Q3 or in Q4. So yes, even in LJMB, the X millions of training revenues that we projected at the start of the year, I'm already announced to my team, we will definitely not achieve that if we do the same things that we're doing before. So let's try out different things. Going back to the favorite accountability question that I always ask leaders. Given the COVID crisis, what else can we do? Can we go out of our usual sales operating model? If we've been offering these products and services and we've celebrated our growth in the past because of this, and it's no longer working right now, what else can we do? I will now go to the next question. I will now start and activate the poll question. Please go to the poll feature once more. And now my question is, which do you think is a leading reason why demand for your product has gone down? Publishing it now, you're seeing it. Which do you think is a leading reason why demand for your product or service has gone down? Whether you come from automotives, you come from financial services, you come from insurance or food, you come from the BPO space, what is the leading reason why demand for your product has gone down? We have a few votes here. 20 people participating in our poll here. Became all 20, all 5 options with 20. Just waiting for a few more votes. The charts, bar charts are still moving. There seems to be a winner. 2 dominant answers. Yeah. Is it no money? Is it no access? Is it no need for product? Is it not urgent? Or people are in wait and see mode? The charts, the bars are still moving. Let's give it a few more seconds to firm up. If there are no more votes being lodged in, what do we see? If you have a guess, what would that guess be? Is it A, B, C, D, E? I will declare the top 2 answers are tied at 31% each. That means that 31% is about 6 people. 6 people are saying that people have no access to our products and services. 6 people are saying customers are not finding our products and services of top priority or they're not urgent. The second and top answer is people have no money, and we have people are in wait and see mode. They may have the cash, they may have the capacity to pay, but they don't want to spend because the next 3 to 6 months is really uncertain. And there is, I think, one person who said that they may not need our product or service. Thank you. This is important as we go to our next discussion. And while I'm still on the goals, yes, we may not be able to hit our goals. For some organizations, I know that their management teams already conducted town hall meetings and said, we will not hit our goals, but let's do best effort. And when it comes to operationalizing best effort, let me present to you 3 things, 3 focus areas that you can do as sales leaders or as entrepreneurs. We may not hit our goals anymore as set because they're based on different assumptions and projections. But let's just at least focus on reducing the variance from the budget. This is what we call minimizing or mitigating the loss. If we will not hit our numbers, then we make sure that we hit what? 40, 50, if 80 to 90% is already a stretch, then let's try to achieve as much as we can. So there's less need to catch up, let's say in Q3 or Q4 or in 2021, because for some companies, undelivered budgets will just be carried over to the next year, especially if you have a 3-year-old plan or 5-year-old plan. Okay? And of course, in terms of preparing for the uptake, preparing to seize opportunities when this lockdown and quarantine is all over, how can you leverage on this crisis and be better than your competitors, regardless of what business or product service do you offer, so that you can maintain and even boost your presence and enrich your customer relationships and even solidify your brand. Lots of companies are now being talked about in terms of employer branding. And we have said that employees will remember their companies for how they took care of their employees, how they placed premium on employee welfare during this crisis through their decisions and actions and initiatives. And as far as customers are also concerned, customers will also remember which of these companies were thinking of the welfare of the client or the customer, or the best interest of the customer and the client during these times. And now it will create that possible question: how do you now sell during these times of crisis? Especially if you're in a business to consumer B2C format, if you're approaching customers on an individual basis. Some insurance counselors, financial counselors have asked me, how do you approach people? Is it a good time to um, promote or push your products and services? And tomorrow, for those who are attending our webinar tomorrow, we'll talk about generating leads. We will also touch on approaching customers, contacting your leads. What's the content of the initial contact that you will send to your leads so that they will not be turned off? Okay? I'm assuming that everybody's can understand Filipino coming from the company profiles and participant profiles. Some of our customers might even think, ano ba naman yan, crisis na nga, benta pa ang iniisip. Right? So how can you hurdle that? There is a way. There's a simple yet powerful approach using choice of words of offering your products and services. So excited to teach that to you tomorrow, especially for most of you who will also be doing a carryover of the sales training tomorrow. And number 3 is, how do you leverage on the available downtime to, I'll quote this phrase that has been mentioned in the past decade, but we'll use it again, to future-proof your respective sales companies or your businesses. There is definitely downtime generated by this COVID. Salespeople are no longer out on the field because of the lockdown, because of the quarantine. You can't go out to sell. Salespeople, they have less inquiries or less inbound requests, and therefore there's some downtime available there. If some of the key accounts that you're handling, if you're a key account manager, may no longer require presence as much because they also have other business priorities. So if you're a sales manager, your task is to quantify that freed up time and to devote that time to strengthening, reorganizing your sales organization for remote selling. Because as we are having remote training right now, and lots of your daily communication are now happening in a virtual environment through video calls, and people are liking it, people are adjusting it. I'm not saying that we won't go face-to-face anymore when the lockdown is lifted, but remote selling will really increase in frequency and usage. And a lot of clients have also expressed openness to this new setup. We've really appreciated the benefits of this virtual way of doing business. So with these 3 focus areas, just setting expectations, instead of giving you the fish, we'll teach you how to fish. With an hour left in this short webinar, I can't go and give specific tips. I can't answer, I can't give specific solutions to all of the companies who are here today. I may still need to know a specific context or background of what you're experiencing right now. And the chat room is a very good venue if you think of a question or if you think of an idea that you'd like to share. Instead of just seeing hello everyone here, hello, I'm in, and welcome, you may lodge your questions, you may post your questions here, and I'll make sure that I will read them as I see them, or I'll devote time later during the Q&A. It's giving you a way of thinking, because if I give you the answers, you'll be dependent on the answers. When we end the webinar, you'll have another question. But if I give you a structured way and I'm giving you a worksheet or a framework on thinking of solutions and options during this time of crisis, you can bring that to your respective teams. You can show that to your immediate superior and collaborate with others in finding the right answers. So it's teaching you to fish, giving you a framework, because if I am to give specific answers to each of the businesses here that will definitely address or solve your problems, then we will not be charging $4.99. We'll be charging perhaps $200,000 per participant in this. It's no longer a webinar. It's just a call. I give you that fish and you implement it. Will not work that way. Please be on guard for 1 or 2 or 3 things that you may want to adopt in your respective areas with the diversity of the companies here: financial, insurance, BPO, automotives, food. May not be able to give one suggestion applicable to all. So please feel free to adopt and adapt it to your scenarios. And if you're here, we have 14 people again from our loyal client bank card. Sales is a team sport. It's good because 14 heads who will work on that possible template later, then it's really collaboration that can be applied, implemented in a standard way in your companies. So after we set expectations here, the 3 courses, after we finish today with what to do, high-level entrepreneur or sales manager thinking. Tomorrow, we'll talk about getting leads and contacting your leads in this time wherein people may feel some sense of hiya. Nakakahiya naman mag-offer ka ng product, no? Kasi baka walang pera, baka ma-offend. So what will be the best approach? So we'll cover that tomorrow. And because you already got in touch with your leads, you've contacted them, you got a yes, you already booked a virtual appointment. Oh, look at that, virtual appointment. You will now book the person through video call, through Let's Meet through Zoom. You send the link in Google Hangouts, and you will now, on Friday, this is a free session on Friday, deliver or learn how to deliver sales presentations using video. And I will explain more in detail later. This is also new to me. Have been doing face-to-face training to a group of 30 to as big as 1,000 people, let's say in SMX, MOA, face-to-face, or I'm on stage. But on April 1, last April 1, my first time to address an audience that I cannot see through video. There are definitely adjustments in the way that you present. First principle, we only have a short window for revenue loss mitigation. We definitely may say goodbye to 2020 targets, but we will achieve what? We'll achieve maybe 60%, 50%, 40%, as much as 80%, or 85, 90, depending on your industry. We just need to double down on our efforts. We cannot relax on our efforts because what we do during this Q2 will also predict the results in Q3 and Q4. I'm going back to the poll. I'm resetting the question. Resetting the question here. Getting interaction from our group. Thank you for generously answering the questions. The next poll I will publish right now, and it's on how bad was the effect of COVID-19 crisis on your sales as a company. How bad was the effect of COVID-19 crisis on your sales as a company? 0 sales since the ECQ. Maybe you close or you need to temporarily close. For some of the organizations on the list, you still operate, but maybe your performance is 1 to 20% lower than target? Or are you 21 to 40% lower than target? Or you are very far from target, 41 to 60% lower than target? Or worst case, I gave here 61 to 80% lower than target. You can just base it on estimates or approximate variance from target. Still waiting for some of our participants to cast their votes. The bars are moving. There's a clear cut. There's a runaway winner here that we're seeing. Wow. Okay. Interesting. They're still moving. It's clear what the top answer is. Please keep them coming. So for those who have yet to vote, please do cast your votes on the poll feature. Okay. And now we have the first question here. Let me acknowledge this first question in the chat after we're all final with the poll here. Assuming that everybody has voted, okay, 38% of our participants in this class have 0 sales since the ECQ. Okay, acknowledging that, and it's really a tough time. Just wanted to assure you that yes, we can definitely do something about this. Although it's been 6 weeks, depending on your industry, your customers may really see that no reason to buy or not a priority. 27% of the participants are saying 61 to 80% lower than target. While we have 11% who are 1 to 20% lower than target, and some who are even 21 to 40% lower than target, which means that some of the companies here are meeting about 60 to 80% of their sales targets this 2020 or this Q2. Although, of course, we acknowledge that there are those with 0 sales since the ECQ. Thank you for this input. Let's just acknowledging what the Ferdy, one of our participants, shared through the chat room. We are currently getting 32% net profit. I mentioned that, right? And that's good, Ferdy. Congratulations. Due to food delivery, Ferdy's in the food business, planning to operate branches in Metro Manila. Look at that. And, you know, the food industry has also been heavily hit. A lot are closed, no opportunities. But it's really what you do with this, how you turn the tables and how you innovate in this crisis. Okay, so congratulations there, Ferdy. I'll mention that, link that to our examples later. In this slide, the first step in reducing the variance from the budget, it's important to go to the reasons why there was a drop in demand. And we asked you this question earlier: is it no money? Is it no access? Is it no need or not urgent? And a lot of you said no access and not urgent. Okay? Because we need to challenge that assumption. Do people really have no money? And depending on the reasons for reduced demand, of course, the solutions of sales leaders and sales teams will follow. If, depending on your product service industry and your target customers, it's really valid that they don't have money because they lost their employment. And if, let's say, your target market would be employees of airlines, you know that Cebu Pacific and PAL really laid off a lot of workers. If your target market are financially struggling on a no work, no pay setup, then except if you are a lending company or a financing institution, you can definitely provide some help. If not, an option here will be something like deliver or use or avail now, pay later, but within the bounds of, let me emphasize, ethical selling, because we don't want to take advantage of this crisis. given people's worst financial conditions. In the no access possible reason, and this has been voted as a top response. No access, power of root cause analysis is when you're able to pinpoint the reason, the solution just magically unfolds. So customers have no access, and it's still an ongoing paradigm shift in businesses or in the minds of leaders. We have to create that access. And while this has been mentioned several times before, go to the customer instead. It's no better time than to implement this now. And because we can't go out, it's really the power of technology. How will you be your own digital marketer? How will you do your own online marketing and selling? And we'll go to that as the last part of our webinar. In the I don't need your product, it's not urgent. For example, the products that we have here of our participants here, the products, we have food. Who can say that you don't need food? We have financial services, we have insurance. Somebody's coming from automotives. Oh, that's a good example. We don't need to buy cars as of this point. I was doing my research over the internet and YouTube. And while this is in America, there were several nurses in states in the US who bought cars during this time. Because of social distancing, they can't take public transport. You know how it is in other countries. They would prefer to use public transport, but because of social distancing, with that need of safety and security, some availed of cars. And some of the dealerships there are also making it easier for customers to own cars. Again, that's citing that's in the US, but it's possible if you can work on some processes or regulatory requirements given your business. What's the general what we can do here for no need, not urgent? And then I'll give an example. I'll mention a lot of examples that we can see today. Simple innovation in our local communities. Also use the LJMB experience in that worksheet that I was talking to you about. Who said that they don't have any need? Who said that it's not urgent? They think that they don't have the need. They think that it's not urgent because they're still in wait and see mode. It is now our challenge to change and influence that perception. And how do we do that? You have to change your pitch. You have to change your key message. And if you believe in the value of your offering, your product and service, if you believe in its quality, if you believe in its value proposition, then you have to show the value of your product now. And look at that question. That's a powerful question. That's the scarcity question. What do they stand to lose if they wait? That's the principle. And let me discuss some applications of this one. Okay. Most of you know us. We're in face-to-face training to different clients. We go to your building, your office, to our bank card partners to deliver training. We go to hotels that you also book for our training events. For the first time in my 27 years of experience, I'm delivering training using technology. Of course, I started the delivering training with Manila paper that you just fold and you write your text. And then the overhead projector. And over the past 3 decades, I've been doing this. Technology has really changed drastically. But thanks to COVID, actually, and as a business owner, we've also been challenged to change the business model. I'll talk more about that. We've changed our pitch. Yep. Because of the lockdown, a total of, let me now put this in total, a total of 18 days in March had been postponed. That translates to millions of training revenues. Our bookings for April and May, we've already been advised that they're not pushing through because people are again on wait and see mode. Maybe when the lockdown's lifted, they'll return But we don't need to wait for that. We are anticipating it will really go beyond that. So it's proactive of the business to what do we now do if I own a training company of 17 people and we won't have business in March and April and May, what do I do? Starting April 1, only after 2 weeks after the lockdown, we had an idea in the team, why don't we do webinars? People are doing it. So April 1, 2, 3, we did the first set of webinars. The following week, some of you have attended our free sessions, either done through webinars like this, or even through Facebook Live. Right? Thank you, Irene, for mentioning here. You have to also change your acceptance criteria in granting credit. Those who are qualified before may no longer be qualified now. Okay? Again, because we're anticipating the changing financial situation or capabilities of these customers who were qualified before. Question here of Irene is, what's the ethical way of selling given this new normal? I'll park this, Irene, but thank you. So I can process it in my head as I go along. I'll go back to this, changing our pitch. Okay? So did LJMB have zero revenues in the past month? The answer is no. We had some revenues in the past, and they were generated through this innovation webinars. You're paying for this webinar now. How many heads are paying for this webinar today? How many heads will we have tomorrow? In the past 2 weeks, we had paid participants attend, and while we have 200, sometimes 300 participants in our free webinars, we are starting to generate revenue from this utilization of online or digital tools. But we have to change our pitch. In one proposal I recently sent to a client, take a look at the title there. There's a highlight. And I started by saying, we cannot wait for the ECQ to end to resume our talent and leadership development efforts. And a lot of organizations and companies can resonate with this, because I know that the postponements in March were just because they don't know what to do. Everybody was caught off guard. So they can postpone whatever it is that they feel is not priority. So everybody was waiting for the announcement April 13 will be lifted or will remain in force. When it was announced that it's until April 30 and there are talks of it being extended, I know that a lot of organizations are also feeling the pressure. We have to do something about it. The wait and see mode, if customers are in wait and see mode, companies are also in wait and see mode. And I believe that companies can dictate the attitudes and behaviors of customers. If we show them access, if we show them some activity, if we change our pitch like this, you can't wait. We just need to do it with social distancing, and we just need to go around the quarantine rules here. So in our training business, you know that training can easily be scrapped whenever there's crisis. We're changing our pitch, and so far it's getting the attention of several of our target customers. Here's a worksheet that you may want to take a photo of. I know that my one by one video space there is taking up that corner. Your selling options, and thank you, it's been moved. If you can move this to the lower left, it's better. Lower left. If not, that's perfect. You can now see the entire worksheet of selling options. So you may now take photos of this selling worksheet. I use a different version of this when I facilitate strategic planning sessions, but it's also very relevant here in the crisis now. Most of what we do is here we have existing value offerings, we have blockbuster products, we have best-selling services that we offer to, we've proven, we've actually identified profitable or high growth, high volume existing customer segments. That's number one. And for the past few years, we've been focused on this, because why break it? If it's not yet, why stop activity there when it's not broken. We continue to offer uh, our products and services to these identified, you'll never go wrong customers and segments. Okay? But COVID happened, and this box, this cell, will not give us the results that we want. And the reason why we also have low demand, no sales, zero sales is because we've been used to operating here in this cell. So the growth now comes in. Let me show the other boxes here. This is not a new idea. It's just a very good reminder of how you can use your existing value offerings and target new customers or segments. Let me give you 3 examples here that we've noticed. These are not theoretical. This is what's happening around there. Look at hotels. Initially, the impact of lack of travel and the downturn of tourism on the hospitality industry. Hotels don't have bookings or occupancy. Occupancy rates went down, but they have found new customers or new customer segments to offer their properties to, especially if they're near hubs, tech hubs, or BPO hubs or business districts. For those who operate 24 by 7, or for those employees who are quarantined, they can't go home because of the lockdown, they have offered their facilities to healthcare workers, that's the HC, or to BPO workers. And I know a lot of BPO workers who are being housed in hotels. Take a look at that. Going out of your existing frame of mind of who are our customers whom we can serve. Another possibility here is revisiting, if this is applicable to you, if you are doing B2B or business to business, going directly to consumers or going retail. Or let's say if you're doing retail, maybe doing corporate will be more profitable, or it will be easier in terms of the selling process right now. So you can try to revisit that. And I'll mention what we did in LJMB for this one. That's the case that I'd like to share with you. Okay? And I know of some pharmacies, I know some owners of chains of small drugstores, not the likes of your leading brands, who, because of the lockdown and because people are not going to the pharmacies, and they look around, I live in a subdivision, I live in a village, why not offer our products here? And you know what? Here in our subdivision, we have a very active, all of a sudden, there's a lot of activity in the Facebook page of our local community here. That's one of the trends that I mentioned in my webinar last week. What's next for the 18 months and beyond? The strengthening of the local community ties. So he started offering his supplies, he brought it home, and then offered it to the local community. Looking at discovering new customers or segments. So if you have insurance products, if you offer loan facilities, if you offer credit cards or are in food or automotives, no? What new customers are you trying to explore? Okay? And this is the time to experiment. In crisis situations, nobody has the playbook, nobody may have a success manual or story. Experiment at small scale, and then learn lessons and tweak it as you go along. As I mentioned, you only have April, May, June to implement, to experiment with your innovation that may come from this worksheet on selling options. Then the next 2 columns here are, you are still offering the same products or value offerings. Value offerings refer to products and services, but you are using new channels. And when we use new channels here, you're talking about sales and marketing or your delivery channels as well. And just to mention things that are very familiar, and how will you leverage this given the type of product and service that you have, apps, Grab Food. How would you do your own social media marketing? Okay? Even in real estate, let me just mention real estate. I had a check-in with some real estate professionals, and some of them are saying that there has been a high demand for properties at this point, and it's also coming from a lot of activity in digital or online or social media marketing. I'll share one slide later. I interviewed one real estate professional, and she's very happy with the. She said that the numbers are not affected right now, given her real estate portfolio. In terms of delivery, you now have very active local grocery suppliers. The all of a sudden overnight entrepreneurs who would be your personal shoppers or personal grocery service providers, your drive-through and platforms for these kinds of interaction, meetings, trainings, and events, conferences. There are now summits being organized with 100 or plus participants that are all happening through tech. So take a look at that. Life doesn't have to stop. You just have to make adjustments. And a lot of the things that we do, we realize we can do it given these platforms that are available to us. Okay? And then we can talk about new value offerings, and this is where the innovation comes in. I'll mention an example in the LJMB team later. Now, going out of your comfort zone, the comfort zone there is the box in red, and all of the others in green represent growth areas. So who would it be? Would it be you or your competition who will lead the way? This is not a battle over 1 or 2 or 3 years where you can catch up easily. We're talking about a very short window here to minimize the effect of COVID. So whoever is able to introduce first any innovative idea, who's able to execute and implement first, may reap the benefits more than competition. So ask yourself, what are our existing capabilities in our team or in our company that we can use to provide existing products to new customers, innovate with our value offerings? And I know that for financial products, innovating with your value offerings might be difficult because of regulatory requirements. But the channels of sales and marketing and the delivery, the individual salesperson or the team can have more liberty or more freedom to explore. And if you have capabilities that you need to maximize, there are also areas for improvement. We're not very strong here. And when I mention capabilities, there are either skill sets or functions that you're strong at. That's for number 6. And functions or skill sets that you are not good at, that you lack, that is broken, that is number 7. So this is the biggest value that I'd like to give you, because after you take a screenshot of this LJMB developed tool, you can already share it with anyone else. You can bring it to your teams and ask your business partners, if you're operating a business, or your respective sales teams, how do we fill out each one? Given how much leeway or elbow room we have. Again, depends on the regulation that is governing your respective industries. Let me give you an example. I'm conscious of the time. It's 3:58. We'll finish in around 15 to 20 minutes, then some more minutes for Q&A. And most of you already know our email address. Should your questions not be, should you fail to raise your questions here, you're too shy to ask, you want it sent privately, email us directly, and we'll find time to address your questions. The LJMB case, I want to use our company as a case. I've been using our company as a case since the first webinars, because once again, nobody has a ready manual for this one. Okay? And you take a look at our red box there, our existing products to our existing customers and segments. In 15 years, we're in existence. Our numbers grew, exponentially grew, based on face-to-face training, customized training to clients, who we wait to call us. Right? Because over the past 15 years, we have a steady supply of clients, word of mouth. Our brand is very strong. We just have to focus on quality delivery. We may not be best. We may not be perfect. We may not be flawless. We make sure we will protect our brand. So we get referred a lot. And we make sure that we get good participant feedback, which leads to repeat business. And that has been the business model. For 15 years, it's been enough to grow an operation of one person, that's me in 2005, to 20 people, even more than 20 people at one point last year. And then again, COVID came. In the past, I've heard of e-learning. I've heard of e-learning in the early 2000s, but why bother? Filipinos don't like e-learning because they find it I say some or most will find it boring. Maybe it's adjustment to the technology. At that time, we preferred to be with the instructors or with classmates, interacting with each other. But right now, given the constraint, let's explore how we can shift to that one. There's no choice. We can't do what we've been doing in the past. Therefore, we identified new customers and new segments. What are we doing now with the webinar approach from B2B, business to business? We are now doing business to customer or to individual consumers. We're marketing our webinars to individual people. From dependence on repeat customers, and we have a strong base of loyal followers, loyal clients, to now actively searching for new business and new companies. And from big companies too, because we realized that a lot of those who send participants to webinars like this would come from small and medium companies, maybe because they do not have internal training capabilities, and therefore we identify that as a new segment. Look at that. Just as an example, our products may be different from yours. And we don't even have those answers before March 11. But because of this crisis, we use this template and we're able to identify 3 opportunities there just by changing our customer segments. Okay. Let's look at the new channels here in terms of sales and marketing. We have our Facebook page before. It's just for fun that we post our photos of training events. But now it's no longer just for posting what we did in the past. It's more of inviting people to enroll in our webinars. We're so active now. We make at the point that everybody in the team becomes a brand ambassador here. We're using social media a lot in a more targeted way. We're also learning how to do digital marketing as we go along. And sending personalized Facebook messages to our clients because they reply here. And I'll talk more about this tomorrow in lead generation and in contacting your clients. There's a good question here on, we've already established our digital acquisition channel, which is good. How can we convince or persuade a prospect client to apply without sounding insensitive? I'll call you JP, that's your code now. For the meantime, we will cover this tomorrow when we generate leads and when we make the initial contact. I believe I mentioned it earlier in this webinar that one of the apprehensions of salespeople is, crisis na nga, magbebenta ka pa. Diba? How do we make our pitch? How do we invite others without sounding that we don't care about what's happening due to this crisis? Excited to give you the soft skills involved on this tomorrow. And I'm sure you are also part of the delegation that I will have tomorrow. In terms of delivery, innovation, nobody told us to resort to this one. We have to discover it. We have to think through the crisis. And now we are with you. We've offered around 20 webinars and we've generated some revenue. Imagine if we will just go wait and see. We just can't deal with this crisis sitting down. The new value offerings, we also realized that because our value or our services are customizable, not subject to a lot of regulatory requirements. It's easier to innovate. That the webinars that we can offer No company would want an 8-hour webinar. So the 8-hour classes that we usually do for you, we can't do that through these platforms. Nobody wants to be seated for 8 hours, even if there are activities with polls, etc. So we have to create a lot of topics that will be covered by 1 hour short courses and courses that are relevant given this new environment. So take a look at selling skills in COVID, coaching in COVID, motivating your people in COVID, teleconferences in COVID. And on Friday, also touching JP's chat message here, it will carry over in presenting the product and proposing your product as a solution to customer needs in this COVID crisis and using the virtual environment. Now, just to close the LJMB case here and then going to the remainder of our tips. Based on the new customer segments and the new things that we need to do, we also need to change as a company. We have the following capabilities. I believe that we are capable of delivering content in an engaging manner. We also have a wide variety of products, which is very important. I just get one topic and then customize it in the context of COVID. We can design products in an agile manner. Let's say 24 turnaround time. If your company calls us and says, we want a webinar on this topic, okay, when do you want it? Tomorrow we'll deliver it for you. We can do that. And our relationships with our client contacts and with our participants, that we've also taken good care of that throughout the years. Those are the capabilities that we need. What about yours? What are things that you can do quickly, faster, better than others with excellence? Admittedly, these are the 4 capabilities we need to develop, which is what's good because some of you already have established a digital acquisition channel. You may have a digital acquisition channel. I'm preempting myself, but how you engage your prospects on a one-on-one level using the digital acquisition channel is also important. What is the content of the first contact to that channel? Because again, the wrong choice of words may turn off people. Insensitive naman to. Bukas yan, JP. Yeah. So, as far as my team is concerned, I am also stretching myself here. We don't know a lot about this. And I'm also learning through this. There's no playbook, there's no manual. Even your executives are also navigating their way, leading teams to navigate through this crisis. What about you? How do you bring this? If you're already strong in new channels, what about identifying new customers and segments? And maximizing and developing sales capabilities that you need to develop at this point. How do you protect revenue from existing customers? So that's the red. So that's the first thing. If you have existing customers, how do you make sure that your engagement with them is continuous so you don't lose them? How do you, depending on your portfolio of products, do some cross-selling, upselling, and for those in the business with required renewals, for example, if you are in HMO or if you are in contracts which can be automatically renewed, how do you maintain your existing customers? Any outgoing customer as of this point will even add to the low sales or zero sales. Now, I'm sure that most of you, especially if you have a structured sales process, you have your pipeline and you have your stages in the pipeline. I advise you to take a look at those stages and take a look at identify which accounts can we push to win or to close with higher probability than others. Identify what these accounts are. Why do you think this has high probabilities of closing? And also, make sure that you reduce the length of the sales cycle. You close it at the soonest time possible. Because not all companies really have zero customers right now. Some of you are able to hold your customers because of long-term contracts. So push for renewals better, or if you have some leads in your pipeline, if you're even in insurance or if you're even in financial services, you have a list of people to call. Some have already confirmed to get plans from you before this COVID crisis happened. How would you get back to them? So that will be the topic tomorrow and presenting on Friday. What about new opportunity areas? I'm just recapping what I already presented earlier in the worksheet. What are these client segments that are less or not affected by the crisis? For example, I'll talk about credit cards. We have online shopping had a boom. Remember, Amazon is earning $10,000 every second. You have your Lala Move. Who else is being allowed to operate and deliver stuff? I had my haircut. I had my did my own haircut using an electric clipper that was delivered to me by Lala Move. Which segments still continue to pay and purchase using online? Or who are those companies or customers who might be looking for alternative suppliers if you have other products aside from financials? It's 4:10. In 5 to 10 minutes, I'll wrap up all of the content and see other things that we can address here in the chat room. We still have our last question on the poll, but that will come later. Now, whether you are B2B or B2C, whether you promote products or services, because of what's happening right now, and social distancing will continue to be a thing in the near future because there can be a possible second surge of this virus. Some people are asymptomatic. Some people are not showing symptoms right now. So people should really keep the focus on hygiene and social distancing, even when the lockdown is removed. So more and more companies might go into increased work from home. And if you have people working from home, you will still have that remote selling or remote operations possibility. Take a look at how your teams can adjust to this in terms of roles and responsibilities. What is the CF, cross-functional collaboration, that we will do? I mentioned some of the key functions that need to work together for remote selling. You may need to revisit who will do what will marketing and sales and key accounts, customer service and admin do in this remote selling, if you want it to be involving these five functions. Or if it can be within the team, that can be simpler to implement. In terms of, again, using our company as a case, I'm sharing the exact deck that I delivered to my team on how we will move to remote selling because of the digital learning model. Here's the cover slide. If you notice the date, that is April 5. As early as April 5, we are preparing to shift to our new value offerings to new segments of customers. Here's one slide. I will not go through this, but I'm saying that the Q2 business model will really focus on quick wins, the webinar market, where we are making some money as of this point, yet providing the free webinars for brand building. Okay? And because of the new product, the new process follows, the new roles. Maybe you may not have a new product, but you will have new market segments, and therefore you will have new processes. Before, this was the process that we do. Don't need to go through that in detail. Now we have a new process, an entirely new step-by-step business model. Just showing you that, of course, you have different products. And then the last slide is all about the new skills. Look at my question there. How do we repurpose the existing team? Everybody will have to be stretched. This is stretched for us to develop the new competencies here, whether it's doing quick research or social media marketing or list generation, because we want to exhaust. I want to reach out to as many as individual customers and companies outside of our current list. Now, if you talk about processes and tools and capability building, this is intertwined because what is the platform that you will use in your remote selling? What is the tech tool that you will use? What is the selling process? Who will call? Do you send an email first? Do you send an FB messenger so it's more personalized? Or do you call? what's the selling process? What's the intro step? What's the initial stage? And what is where's the point wherein you really gather specific needs, and where do you present your product? For some remote selling mature setups, they send self-assessment tools. This is a very good tip. You can design an easy to answer questionnaire, a short questionnaire, and they won't know as they go through it. They realize, oh, I would need their products and services. So you will use the results of the self-assessment tool as a springboard for introducing or presenting your product. Remote selling will require mastery of technology, at the same time presenting yourself, presenting the product, features and benefits, listening to the verbal cues, handling objections of your customers and clients, your merchants, your distributors, your partners over video. How do you conduct negotiations through video if you will really use remote selling? Of course, you may combine face-to-face interactions with remote selling opportunities. But can you realize the potential of remote selling? You don't have to be physically present. You'll be more productive. You'll be more efficient. And because most of our clients have already tested this, have already tried this, there's now increased acceptance that this will be used in the long term. If you have more people doing remote selling, the issue to leaders is how do you work with them? And I am plugging here one of our catalogs, because if we go back to the previous slide, I mentioned tools, your product information. Here is a simple catalog that we now send to our clients. Take a look at the pitch there. Take a look at the pitch at the top. You may not have something like this you send to all of your clients, but the pitch that you put in the SMS, in the email, in your FB Messenger, what's our pitch there? Information and inspiration are badly needed during these times. And just like how I said it earlier, learning and development should not wait until things get back to normal. Okay? And our product is even a difficult product. It's very easy to deprioritize. But financial services, investments, maybe it's a good time to invest your money rather than just letting your money stay in your savings account. Okay? Let's go to a few more slides, my last slides. One of my friends who is an insurance financial counselor, she has this on her Facebook page, online financial consultation. They just recently launched it. Okay? I will go to one of our participants in the room. She's here, Ida, okay, my personal financial counselor as well, who is an MDRT, Millionaires Roundtable. Okay? That's ranked in the insurance industry. And on her Facebook page, is also very active with these promotions and showing that there's an answer to the no access. So for one of our participants here, who said we already established our digital acquisition channel and process, while you may have the process and you may have the channel, what's critical is the personal touch and what to say. So we can convert this person into thinking, this company cares, they're not after my money in these times of crisis, and I have a need for their product. So Ida saying hi to everyone. Okay. My last slide as I close is coming from a real estate professional. Take a look at this. I said hi to her. How's your real estate business doing? She's an independent seller affiliated with one developer. She said digital marketing na po talaga ang platform na yun. I'm very proud to say that this person attended our training more than a year ago, and we were telling their real estate team, create your vlogs, create your channels, because really, this is really the in thing. And she gave credit, actually, LJMB din po yung nag-jumpstart ng vlogging career namin. Oh. Dati hindi ko siya kino-consider, pero after ng maraming tries, medyo nagamay ko na rin siya. You may have a company digital acquisition channel, but the salesperson, how would the salesperson utilize the leads that are generated through that? The individual engagement is now critical. Okay? Yeah. Going back to our worksheet, the selling options. If there's one thing that I really like to give away to you, because I'd like you to fish for yourself. I'm teaching you how to fish. Because you might change companies, you might change products and services and careers, but the same questions the entrepreneur or the sales manager will ask during these times of crisis. The best option is not really saying, no, we're sticking with our targets, which are already unrealistic, which may already be unrealistic. Or the other way around, sending that message of reactivity, there's nothing we can do. Focus on, there is something that we can do. Reducing the balance from the budget. Maintaining and boosting our presence with our customers. Not losing them, protecting our existing and upcoming revenue with them. And how do you maximize your downtime to make sure that your sales organization will be more agile, more efficient? Now, planting the seeds, protecting whatever revenue, and then getting ready when things go to the, no, not go back to normal, go to the new normal. Once again, the thinking, big picture thinking of sales managers and entrepreneurs. Innovation, new markets, new segments, new offerings, new channels. Please still be with us. Tomorrow we'll now be getting leads and how to contact and approach your leads with sensitivity, because that is one of the apprehensions of salespeople nowadays. No, kaya magbenta, baka sabihin naman, mukha kang pera, crisis na nga. No? For all you know, they will benefit. They are already using some of your competitors' products and services. And on Friday is a free session on delivering your sales presentations. So far, what was your biggest takeaway? Please keep following us at LJMB Training. Okay? What's your biggest takeaway from today? For our last poll session, I'm resetting it. For the last poll session, what is your biggest takeaway today? I'm publishing A, B, C, D, E, F. Is it the sales manager's attitude? Is it assessing the drop in demand? Is it the worksheet on your selling options? Is it the few tips that we gave on protecting revenue, identifying new opportunity areas, or adapting the sales organization setup for remote selling? Thank you in advance for those who are voting. Please give me your thoughts. What is the lesson today that you like most? It's best to complete the next 3 webinars because this one is big picture, high level, sales management, and then tomorrow is now more tactical, and then on Friday it's presenting through virtual means. Wow! I believe that our group has preferred 2 topics. 42% going for the worksheet on your selling options. Of course, it doesn't come with the answers in the cells. Maybe you have to figure out the answers for yourselves. Should you wish to hear my thoughts on your worksheet answers, you can just reach out to us. 30% are saying adapting the sales organization setup for remote selling. And some are mentioning identifying new opportunity areas. You know, sometimes being leaders in our respective industries, being successful in what we have been doing, us for 15 years, and you for how many decades or years, may have blinded us in a lot of other new things that we can do. Okay? I said a lot, and I know that somehow my sharing of these lots of ideas became a source of value to you. Pick one, two, three things and adapt them, share them, and adapt them as well. If it is not 100% applicable, adapt them, tweak them to your respective situation. Okay? So 46%, close to half, appreciated the selling options. If there are questions that you'd like me to answer, you may place in the chat room. We still have 6 minutes. If you don't have questions, you may share with us your suggestions or appreciation through chat or answer our quick 10-second survey that you can see on the offers feature on the right side of your screen. So 3 things that you can do right now with 6 minutes remaining in our time. Ask questions through chat. Number 2, if you don't have questions, you may give us suggestions or reactions, appreciation of our session this afternoon. You may also want to give me advanced questions for tomorrow in the lead generation and approaching our prospects. Or if you don't have questions, if you don't have suggestions, you may now respond to our quick 10-second survey in the offers page of our screen. Let me see. Taking note. I will take photos of the chat messages. I took note of what's the ethical way of selling given this new normal? Those who are qualified before may no longer be qualified now. We have to change our acceptance criteria in granting credit. Okay? I will withhold the name of the person, or is it seen? Is it public here? If you can see the question, the person who's asking the question, I don't see how this becomes an ethical issue. I don't see any violations of ethics here as compared to my example earlier of taking advantage of some potential clients to avail of your products and services if they don't really have a need or the capacity to pay. I would see this more as simple compliance to regulations that are meant to protect the business and also protect the person, because given the changing economic conditions, if we continue to provide to easily approve credit and they don't anticipate what may happen in the next 2 to 3 months, they might end up deeply indebted. So I think it's just protecting the business. At the same time, it's also protecting the person. So for me, it's win-win. While it's still not an ethical issue, in a way, you're also thinking of the welfare of the customer given this uncertain economic times. That's my current answer to that, or top of mind answer to that question. Of course, we're postponing that answer to how do you persuade prospects without sounding insensitive. Okay? We just use the use of a few words, a few tweaks. Okay? I'm known to be a very powerful hard seller if it's pre-COVID, but using just a few tweaks in your language, you can of course convey sensitivity. So I'll introduce that tomorrow. Okay, insights if we're going to operate our branches in Metro Manila. Okay, what I'll do, Freddie, I acknowledged earlier, what I'll do is to send you my specific answer to this. I'll send you a long email. Okay. You're very welcome. I'll call you JP. Carlos, thank you so much. Looking forward to having you in tomorrow's webinar, the continuation of today's high-level entrepreneur and sales manager overview. Tomorrow we'll talk about how do you get your leads, expecting that we will utilize digital, online, social media, and how do you make that first contact? What do you say that will not turn them off? Marlon, you're very welcome. Congratulations. It's 4:29. Congratulations to all for completing this workshop. Take your screenshots of that worksheet. Don't worry. We also will give you an e-handout. And just give us within 24 hours to give you that e-handout of the contents of our session today. Don't be shy. Please send us specific questions. You may email us at inquiry@ljmbconsulting.com. For those of you who are my networks in Facebook or LinkedIn, send me individual, send me private messages. I will make sure I will respond to them. Yes, see you tomorrow. For those who need to log out, see you tomorrow. Taking note of your questions here. I'm doing a screenshot right now. Okay. Please don't forget to answer our quick 10-second survey. Thank you. Wait for our e-handout. Most of you will still join us tomorrow. Perfect continuation, more tactical, more soft skills. Today's more thinking, more strategizing. Please promote our webinars. I'm sure that more sales leaders would need to hear about these tips or share them. Please take notes. The e-handout, you may also promote to your friends, to your fellow leaders, and to your professional network. 4:31, for those of you who have other appointments, you may now proceed to your next meetings or next household chore. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'll just hang around and maybe wait for a few more messages here. A lot of you are saying thank you, and we should thank you more for the support. Yes, see you tomorrow. Checking our chat, just taking screenshots of our questions that I will answer tomorrow, and some private messages that are sent to me, some questions and clarification. Okay. Yes, you're welcome, Ida, for the promotion. Everybody needs to promote each other nowadays. I've also been strongly promoting bank card for all of my online purchases and all of my deliveries. Bank card, MasterCard World. That's my credit card. Supported, powered by RCBC Bank Card. What I'll do in my next big group webinar, I'll give a shout out to our loyal attendees. I'll mention companies who have been regularly attending, especially our paid webinars. So, po-promote natin yan. Yung bank card, po-promote natin. Si Oasis Gill also has been attending our webinars. Frequently, po-promote din natin yan. Ida, I'll promote you again. The name of the game during ECQ is digital marketing. For those who do not have that capability, what would you suggest that they can do for selling? Okay, I took a screenshot of this question. I have your email address anyway. I'll send you a long question here. Because digital marketing is really just the precursor of the process. You have to have your brand out there through digital marketing. It's marketing your brand, your company, your products and services in the digital space. But what happens after that is now remote selling. What happens after that, as you contact possibly leads that are generated, people who will show interest, that will now be remote selling. Okay? What I'll do is to send you a long answer to this one through email. Okay, just waiting for our participants to finish either posting more questions that I can take note of, that I can answer through individual emails, or answering a quick 10-second survey, or just sending personal messages here. Okay, for Sergio, I will send you a long email. You mentioned two things, digital marketing and remote selling. For those who do not have the capability of digital marketing, what can they do for remote selling? It's good if you have both. One will lead to the other. But in case we don't have digital marketing, what could you do? Okay, we still have 10 people in the room. We'll be staying here for another 2 minutes. Once again, e-handouts will be sent to your email addresses within 24 hours. We'll see you tomorrow. For those who are joining us tomorrow, Thursday, we're talking about creating demand, getting leads, and making that first contact with your leads, especially sounding, how do you sound concerned, at the same time proposing your company service as a solution without coming across as insensitive or just product pushing. So just getting the email addresses of the people who I will need to send private messages to. So we can really prepare answers. One of my classmates is here. Thank you, Lawrence, for supporting us. Huh? our valedictorian before in school. Thank you, pare, for being here in the webinar. Marami pa. Please avail of other webinars. Sure. So if you may go now, you may log out now, please. Just staying around, just hanging out to receive some more messages. But please, you may proceed to your next meeting. You may log out now. Thank you so much. Just close this tab in your browser in Webinar Jam and see you soon. Just follow us at LJMB Training for succeeding webinars. You're welcome, Johanna. Johanna, thank you. See you soon. Also logging out now. Once again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow on your future webinars. Louis Banta and the LJMB team signing out.